You know, as I sit here just feeling into this space, I find myself, well, really curious. There's this sense of wanting to understand things more deeply, I suppose.
That openness, that gentle curiosity.
Yeah.
It's like the quiet after the rain, isn't it? When the air is clear and ready for something new to emerge. Understanding often arrives not in the noise, but in the stillness between the thoughts.
That stillness, yes. Listening to your reflections just now, it brings to mind this image, like a river.
A river, go on.
Well, think of a river when it's young. It's rushing, fierce,
Yeah.
right? Full of energy, churning everything up, maybe a bit muddy.
Full of force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as it goes on its journey, something changes. It seems to naturally slow down.
Yes, a slowing.
Yeah.
But perhaps not one of just running out of energy, but more like a settling.
A settling. I like that.
The sediment, the churning bits, they start to fall away, don't they? And in those stiller waters, you can suddenly see much deeper. There's a clarity.
Oh, that resonates so much. I often feel like my own mind is a young river, just rushing. So many thoughts, all tangled up, constant activity. And that stillness you mentioned, that deeper clarity, it feels like something I really, really yearn for.
And perhaps that yearning itself is the first little ripple moving towards the stillness. You know, it isn't about trying to dam the river. Its nature is to flow.
Right, you can't just stop it.
No, but in the slowing, even in just brief moments where the surface calms down, that's when we can start to see what's actually beneath. It reminds me a bit of the Buddhist idea of letting go.
Letting go.
Yes, but not letting go of life. More like letting go of the frantic grasping at life, you know?
That feels, it sounds simple, but it feels huge. This idea that clarity comes not from forcing it, but from this gentle release. It's quite something. You mentioned emptiness earlier, Shunyata. That doesn't mean, like, nothingness, does it?
No, not a void, not at all. It's more an understanding of, well, how interconnected everything is. Think of a single wave on the ocean. It looks like its own thing, separate, right, but it's completely inseparable from the whole ocean. It doesn't really have an independent existence on its own.
Ah, I see. It arises from the ocean and goes back into it.
Exactly. And in a similar way, everything arises and passes away in relationship with everything else. Nothing stands completely alone.
It really makes you wonder, though, why do we often wait? Wait until life somehow slows us down, maybe through age or difficulty, before we start seeking this kind of clarity. Is it possible, do you think, to cultivate this understanding earlier, while we're still in the middle of that rushing river?
I believe so. That's where the practice of meditation comes in, really.
Ah, meditation.
It's like choosing to deliberately slow down, just for a little while, to gently turn inward, even while the currents of daily life are swirling around us. It gives us these moments to just observe the flow without getting totally swept away by it.
There's that story, isn't there, about Ananda asking the Buddha. Something about why wisdom seems to blossom later in life for many people.
Ah, yes. And the Buddha's response, it points towards stopping the chase, you know? Ceasing that relentless pursuit of fleeting things, pleasures that come and go.
Right.
When the chasing stops, even for a moment, there's an opportunity to simply see what's actually here, to observe reality as it is. Meditation allows that inherent wisdom, which is already inside us, to surface. It can happen at any age.
It's true, though, isn't it? Often, it seems like it's suffering that makes us look inward, when the outside world stops feeling like a solution.
Suffering can absolutely be a powerful teacher, no doubt about it, a very direct one.
Yeah.
But meditation, it offers a different path, a way towards awareness, towards compassion, towards insight that doesn't necessarily rely on those really harsh lessons. It's more like proactively tending to your inner garden, perhaps.
Proactively tending, I like that. So it's like training the mind, training it to just be present, but without judging everything constantly. That non-judgmental part feels key. We're always labeling, aren't we?
Yeah.
Good, bad, like, dislike.
Exactly. It's about noticing. Noticing the breath coming in and going out. Noticing a sensation in the body. Noticing a thought as it arises and then just passes without grabbing onto it or pushing it away.
Just watching it.
Just watching. And this practice, over time, helps us see beyond all the constant mental chatter, the distractions. It helps us connect with something deeper, a sense of our own essence, maybe.
That feels incredibly relevant today.
Yeah.
You know, this feeling so many people have of just being constantly overwhelmed, burnout, losing sight of what actually feels meaningful.
The mind just gets so crowded, doesn't it? So noisy.
Yeah.
But even just brief moments of mindful attention, I think of them like creating little windows in that busy room, small openings. They can offer these glimpses into our true nature, into a calmer, quieter space that's always there underneath.
And this interconnectedness you spoke of?
Yeah.
Dependent origination. How does paying attention like that in meditation help us really feel that, not just think about it?
Well, through that mindful observation, we start to see the conditions, the things that give rise to our thoughts, our emotions. You feel a flash of frustration, for instance.
Okay.
It doesn't just appear out of nowhere, right? If you look closely, you might see it arises from a chain of causes and conditions. Maybe someone said something that felt like a slight, combined with you being tired, maybe hungry.
Ah, so it's not just one thing, it's a whole web.
Exactly. By watching our own inner landscape, we start to see this intricate web of connections, how everything influences everything else.
I see. My feeling isn't just my feeling isolated.
Precisely. And when that understanding deepens, it naturally brings a greater capacity for compassion for ourselves, first, because we see how these things arise, and then for others too, because we recognize they're caught in similar webs. Our experiences aren't these isolated incidents, they're part of this vast shared tapestry.
And that understanding, seeing the bigger picture, it must allow for a different kind of response, right?
Yeah.
Not just reacting on impulse.
Yes. A response rooted more in understanding, less in just automatic reaction. Which leads us nicely to the idea of acceptance.
Acceptance, that's a big one.
It is, and in this context, acceptance isn't about resignation, like just giving up. It's more about clearly seeing things as they actually are without adding that extra layer of our own resistance, our wish for them to be different.
That's a subtle difference, but it feels important. My instinct is often to fight things, to push back against difficult situations.
It's a very common human instinct. But in meditation, we practice observing everything pleasant experiences, unpleasant ones with the same kind of evenness. We don't try to cling desperately to the nice feelings or recoil violently from the uncomfortable ones. We just witness.
Witnessing, so that's suggestion.
Yeah.
Pausing when something challenging happens. Taking a breath, acknowledging the feelings, okay, anger is here or fear is here, observing them without judgment, and then asking, maybe, what can this moment teach me? That feels like a really practical way to apply this.
It is. It shifts us. It moves us from that place of struggle, of fighting reality, into a place of learning, of gentle inquiry.
Okay.
And then, maybe, from that space, what if we turn our attention towards gratitude, even when things are difficult?
Gratitude. That can feel almost impossible when you're really struggling. Counterintuitive.
It can feel that way. Yet, even in the middle of a big challenge, there are often small things we can still offer thanks for, maybe just the warmth of the sun on your skin, or the support of a friend, or even just the simple fact of your breath, always there.
Small things.
Yes. Just reflecting on maybe 3 small things like that during meditation, or anytime really, it can subtly begin to shift our whole perspective, away from focusing only on what's lacking or wrong, towards an awareness of the abundance that's also present.
So moving from lack to
Okay.
even if it's difficulty. Okay. Now you mentioned earlier these 3 poisons: ignorance, attachment, and aversion. They sound pretty fundamental.
They are described in Buddhist thought as the very root of our dissatisfaction, our dukkha, or suffering. But the ignorance here, it's not about lacking book knowledge or information.
Okay, so not just being uninformed.
No, it's a deeper kind of not seeing the true nature of reality, how everything is impermanent, constantly changing, and how we're all fundamentally interconnected. Especially, it's about not seeing the illusion that lasting happiness can be found purely in external things.
Right, that illusion. Like chasing shadows. There's that story, isn't there? The merchant who mistakes the moon's reflection in the water for the real moon.
Exactly. A perfect illustration. We keep chasing these reflections, these external things, hoping they'll finally satisfy us permanently.
And they never quite do.
They can't, by their very nature. Meditation helps us gently pierce that illusion. By observing our own thoughts and emotions, seeing them arise and pass away like transient waves, we start to loosen the grip of that fundamental misunderstanding. We see that the source of true peace, real joy, it lies within.
Okay, so that's ignorance. Then there's attachment, that clinging to people, to possessions, ideas, outcomes we want. That feels like such a natural human thing to do.
It is very natural. But because everything, people, situations, feelings, even our own bodies, is subject to change, subject to impermanence, that clinging inevitably sets us up for suffering when things do change, as they always will.
Because we're holding on to something that's inherently slipping away.
Precisely. Mindfulness practice helps cultivate a kind of gentle detachment, which isn't coldness or indifference. It's more like appreciating the present moment fully, loving deeply, enjoying experiences, but without that desperate need to possess them forever, to freeze them in time.
Like watching a beautiful sunset, you know it's going to fade, but you can still be fully present with its beauty right now without trying to hold on to it.
Exactly that. A full appreciation without the clinging.
Okay. And the third poison, aversion.
Aversion, that's the pushing away. Rejecting, resisting, avoiding things we find unpleasant, painful, or uncomfortable. It often stems from fear, doesn't it?
Yeah, I can see that. I definitely have a tendency to want to avoid things that feel difficult or uncomfortable. It seems easier sometimes.
It seems easier in the short term, perhaps, but aversion creates its own kind of suffering, often trapping us in cycles of negativity or anxiety about what might happen. Meditation helps us here too, by encouraging us to gently turn towards these uncomfortable sensations or feelings.
Turn towards them. That sounds hard.
It can be, initially, but we do it gently, staying present with the discomfort, just observing it without needing to immediately fix it or run away. And often what we discover is that these sensations are also temporary. They change, they pass, and our capacity to simply be with them grows. We build a kind of inner resilience, a quiet courage.
So working with these three poisons, becoming aware of them in ourselves, understanding how they operate, gently loosening their grip, this is how wisdom starts to unfold.
It is a core part of the path. It's really a transformation in our whole relationship with ourselves and with the world. We start learning to find the lessons, the opportunities for growth in all experiences, not just the ones we label good.
And there are practical things we can do day to day to cultivate this awareness beyond formal meditation.
Absolutely. Just bringing mindful attention into ordinary moments.
Yeah.
Noticing, for example, when you're stuck in traffic, do you feel that urge to push against it? Aversion. Or maybe when you have a really pleasant experience, notice the subtle urge to make it last forever. Attachment.
Just noticing those little urges.
Yes. Each noticing is a moment of practice. Reflecting consciously on impermanence, looking at a flower, thinking about the seasons, acknowledging change that can also be powerful. It helps us embrace the flow.
And compassion. You mentioned compassion earlier. How does that fit in as an antidote?
Compassion extending kindness and understanding. First, to ourselves for being caught in these patterns, and then outwards to others, it softens everything. It softens the sharp edges of aversion, the tightness of clinging, the confusion of ignorance. It's like a balm.
A balm. I like that. And finding balance.
Finding balance is key. Enjoying life's pleasures without grasping, working diligently without becoming obsessed, loving deeply without losing ourselves in possessiveness. It's this middle way. And meditation acts like a gentle guide, helping us find and walk that path.
That story you told me once about Maya and her chronic anxiety. It wasn't that the anxiety completely vanished forever, was it?
No, not entirely, but through her practice, she discovered this inner stillness, this quiet space within herself. From that space, she could observe the anxiety without being totally consumed or overwhelmed by it.
So it changed her relationship to it.
Exactly. The anxiety, in a way, became less of an enemy and more of a messenger, maybe even a teacher. She learned to navigate it rather than just be swept away. She gained a kind of mastery over her own mind.
It really brings us back to that fundamental question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What actually gives life meaning? What makes a life feel worthwhile?
Is it just stacking up external achievements, or is it more about cultivating these inner qualities? Awareness, compassion, resilience, peace. From a Buddhist perspective, true meaning often lies less in controlling the world outside and more in aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life, letting go of those purely ego-driven pursuits.
Which brings us to what feels like a real paradox. You're saying the key to wisdom isn't necessarily striving harder, pushing more, figuring everything out, but actually learning to let go.
It does seem paradoxical, doesn't it? Especially in a culture that values effort and achievement so highly. The mind often wants to grasp, to control, to understand intellectually.
Yeah, that's my default mode. Try harder.
Mine too, often. But deep wisdom seems to arise more from a state of gentle receptivity, a willingness to be open rather than forceful striving.
So when you talk about non-striving, it doesn't mean just being passive, giving up on everything.
Not at all. It's not passivity. It's more a subtle shift in orientation. Moving from a mode of constant, effortful doing to a state of receptive being. Trusting the inherent unfolding of life a little more. Think about planting a seed. You prepare the soil, you provide water and sunlight, that's the necessary effort. But you can't force the seed to sprout and grow according to your timetable. You have to trust the natural process.
Ah, I see. So you create the conditions, but then you have to let go of controlling the outcome.
Precisely. Wisdom in this view is often less about acquiring something new, like adding more knowledge, and more about uncovering something that's already there.
Uncovering.
Yes, like gently peeling away the layers of conditioning, fear, misunderstanding, peeling them away to reveal the inherent clarity, the natural wisdom that resides deep within each of us.
But that uncovering
Yeah.
probably takes courage, doesn't it? To look at the layers we might not like.
It absolutely requires courage, a willingness to be present with the uncomfortable truths, the shadows, the parts of ourselves we usually try to avoid.
That story about Arjun, the ambitious executive who had the heart attack.
Right.
It was only when he was forced to stop striving, wasn't it,
Yeah.
that he found a different kind of completeness. Through meditation.
A powerful example, yes. He had to stop the relentless drive outwards to finally connect with the truth that was waiting inwards. Wisdom often emerges when we learn to meet life's challenges, the ups and the downs, with a sense of grace, finding that delicate balance between putting in the right effort and surrendering the outcome.
And are there ways we can practice this? This non-striving, this surrender in our everyday lives?
Small ways, yes. Maybe choose one area where you tend to try and control everything. Consciously practice taking a small step back. Trust the process a little more, see what happens.
Okay, like a little experiment in letting go.
Exactly. And cultivating patience with ourselves especially. Growth isn't usually a straight line, is it? There are setbacks, detours, recognizing that's part of the learning process.
Yeah, maybe. Embracing silence more.
Yes, turning off the noise sometimes. Allowing space for insights to arise naturally rather than constantly seeking them.
Instead of just pushing for answers.
And perhaps asking different kinds of questions, moving away from questions of blame. Why is this happening to me? Toward questions of curiosity. What is this situation asking of me? What can I learn here?
Shifting from blame to curiosity, I like that.
And underpinning all of this, just being kind to ourselves. This whole process of transformation, of uncovering wisdom, it's not always easy. Self-compassion is essential fuel for the journey.
So ultimately, wisdom isn't just knowing things, it's a different way of seeing, isn't it?
Yes, seeing beyond the surface appearances, connecting with the deeper truths, the interconnectedness, the impermanence that underlies everything. And meditation is such a powerful tool for cultivating that clarity of vision, that way of seeing.
And when someone cultivates that wisdom, that clarity, it doesn't just stay contained within them, does it? It must have an effect outwards.
Oh, absolutely, a ripple effect. Just one's presence, a calm presence, a compassionate presence, an authentic presence can inspire and subtly shift the energy around them. It encourages others, perhaps without even saying a word.
The final image you shared, standing on the shore of the ocean, watching the waves of life, the joys, the sorrows, the changes come and go, watching them with a sense of equanimity.
Yes, equanimity, a sense of balance and peace, born from trusting that deeper, constant, yet ever-changing essence, like the ocean itself beneath the waves.
So it's about flowing with life, isn't it? Trusting that every experience, pleasant or unpleasant, is somehow guiding us towards greater understanding, greater wholeness.
Beautifully put, trusting the journey, and perhaps trusting most deeply that everything we truly need for this journey is already within us, right here, right now.
Wow, this conversation, it feels like it's slowed my own inner river, just a little. I feel a real sense of calm and, yeah, a different perspective on that initial curiosity I felt.
Thank you. The quiet is always there, beneath the noise. May you continue to listen for it, to trust that inner wisdom, and discover the profound beauty waiting in each moment of stillness.